the sound of morning. It was always the mornings she missed most, before the world woke, before the noise began. Those early hours when the light was soft and gold, when he would hum to himself in the kitchen, making tea badly but with care. Now, it was just the kettle and silence. And then there was the letter. James sat at the table, an old sheet of paper trembling in his hand. He'd found it tucked behind one of her books, his late wife Ance's handwriting curved and delicate, a quiet echo from another time. My love, if ever the world feels too quiet, listen for the sound of morning. That's where I'll be. The words blurred through his tears. It had been 10 years, and still, her absence filled every room like air that refused to move. He folded the letter gently, pressing it to his lips. Outside, rain began to fall, a soft, rhythmic whisper against the window pane. He remembered their first date, the clumsy, beautiful awkwardness of it. They had met in a cafe after work, both pretending not to notice how nervous they were. She'd spilled her drink. He'd made a joke that wasn't funny, but she'd laughed anyway, brushing hair from her face in that unthinking, effortless way that had undone him completely. Afterward, they'd walked under streetlights glinting off wet pavement. She'd looked up at him, eyes full of mischief and something tender. "Are you going to kiss me, or just keep walking?" she'd asked. So he kissed her, and the world for a moment stood still, just rain, breath, and the warmth of her lips. That was the sound of morning, too, the start of something that felt infinite. Their life together had been ordinary in all the ways that matter most. Laughter over burnt toast, small arguments about bills, and lost keys. Love that didn't fade but deepened quietly, like roots beneath soil. When their daughter Amelia was born, he thought he'd understood happiness. But it was only after her illness, after the long nights and whispered prayers, that he learned what love really demanded: endurance. His wife had been the strong one, always smiling, always saying we'll get through it. And they did, until she didn't. The day she died, the world didn't shatter. It just dimmed. He remembered one night, years earlier, when he'd lost his job. He'd been furious, humiliated. "I'm a failure," he'd said. She'd taken his face in her hands. "No, you're a man who's tired. Rest, and then start again." He had wanted to shout, to resist, but her calm was a mirror, showing him what mattered. That night, she'd made tea and held his hand until he stopped shaking. He never told her then, but that was the moment he fell in love all over again. He realized now, his ego had built walls, but her love had quietly dismantled them. The rain eased. James stood, walked to the window, and watched drops trail down the glass like tiny, liquid stories. He could almost hear her voice, low, amused, telling him to stop thinking so much. He smiled faintly. "You always said that." The house was quiet, but not empty. Not anymore. He opened the door and stepped outside. The earth smelled rich after rain. His garden, once wild with weeds, was alive again, small green shoots pushing through the soil. He'd started tending it months ago, not out of joy but habit. Now, for the first time, he noticed its beauty. A breeze brushed past him, cool and light. It carried the faint scent of her perfume, the same one she wore every morning. His heart stumbled. He turned and saw it, a single bright yellow flower, glowing in the gray. Its petals were soaked but upright, defiant. He crouched beside it, brushing his thumb along the silky surface. It reminded him of her yellow dress, the one she wore too often because he'd once said she looked beautiful in it. She'd teased him for being sentimental, but he'd meant it. She had looked like sunlight. He laughed quietly, eyes damp. "You really did love this color, didn't you?" The flower swayed gently, and for an instant, he imagined she was there, laughing softly, her hand brushing his shoulder. For years he had feared forgetting her. But standing there, he realized love didn't vanish with time. It changed shape. She was in the smell of rain, the echo of laughter in old walls, the way morning light slipped through the curtains. He wasn't alone. Not truly. He whispered, "I forgive you, and I forgive myself." And the wind seemed to sigh back, soft, accepting.